welcome back to the channel. Welcome to Beadnell, the wilds of Northumberland, and I'm afraid it's another car intro today because the weather forecasts are very, very different and inaccurate, seemingly. We're still on the very small cycles of tides, unfortunately. In fact, the smallest tide of the entire cycle, because between high and low water there's only 4.8 feet of range of movement, which means there ain't going to be a lot of tide pull. But what there is, fortunately, there's still a little bit of northerly. I'm just looking out here and it's probably 2.5, 3 foot. Plan is to start at the point, fish, and just keep moving around and try and just cover as much of the skiers around here. It's a proper playground of Mark's Beadnell, so I'm gonna have just probably only 2, maybe 3 casts on each point. At each mark I'm gonna start on the point, then fish lady hole, and then maybe move down behind the little shop and have a couple of chucks in some of the gullies down there, because there are a couple of spots down there that I do like. So that's the plan. Let's get out there. Against me better judgment, well, I say better, it might turn out to be my worst judgment if there's some fish here. I was looking over at the point and the swells are just still quite big, and problem is you're casting into rough. I mean, the ground, particularly off the point, is up there with as rough as it gets, and when you're fishing with braid, so you haven't got a lot of give in the system, and there's big swells rolling through, you just end up getting dragged into snag after snag. Whereas in this mark here, lady hole, there's still a bit of movement, but it's nowhere near as severe, so it should be a lot easier to hold bottom. So that's me plan. If it does drop off a little bit, I might go and have a couple of casts. Bait wise, I've got some wings, and I'm just gonna bulk those up with a bit of lug. I'm just going to initially get it into shape on this little bait and needle tool first, and just have 2, maybe 3 casts at each mark, because I just think if I'm putting plenty of good quality big baits out there and I'm not getting bites, it's just quite evident that there's nothing there. So it's just going to be a case of having to shift about. We're about 2.5 hours down from high water, so I'm hoping, because I've got here quite early, that if there are any fish that have moved in over high water, they might still just be hanging around. So that's the theory. I'm going to fire this one out into the entrance of the gully, which means anything having a mooch in or anything leaving I should ambush. Its rigs are the usual pulley rig. Job's a good one. Right. First bait's had a good soak. I've not had a touch. It's fairly clean, the ground in this particular gully. There's a big sort of sand patch that runs all the way out. There's a few sort of bit of a lugworm bed, which obviously when the sea is massive is what attracts the fish. So that's cast number 1. I mean, that's coming back virtually as good as it went out, which kind of just tells us all I need to know. So it's going to be a case of another cast, and if I don't get any interest at all, I'm going to move. I'm just going to plop this one about, I don't know, 40-50 yards into the middle of the gully. I put the first one quite far out, so I'm just going to put this second one a little bit closer. Sun's coming out, and of course I forgot my sunglasses. Right, this one's been in about 20 minutes. That's the second cast. I've had nothing. Everything in me gut is saying shift, because it's been 2 big baits in there and I haven't had a sniff. They're coming back as good as they went out. So, and as I said earlier, the ground in there is quite clean, which is probably why at night in a big sea it fishes well, but daylight, smallish tide, not much pull under the water to stir things up. I think I'm going to go and seek out some heavier ground, a bit better habitat where there might just be some fish holding. So I might have a chuck off the point, I might push on and have a couple just to cover it off. Right, let's get cracking. We are now on Beadnell Point, and as you can probably see, there's some pretty large swells coming through. There's plenty of colour in the water. Alright, these rocks are very slippy as well when they're wet. I'm intentionally leaving my line fairly slack because it doesn't take much for one of these sinkers to just move your braid a bit and just jam you in a snag, and then straight away your cast's wasted. So I'm just giving the whole system a little bit of slack. Tide's going out at the moment, so it's ebbing from south to north, from right to left. Probably really you want to be fishing this mark on the flood when it's coming up and barreling up against the face of the point, but we'll make do. Right, next bait, I'm going to get a bit of wing, crab. I'm going to put a bit of everything on this actually. I'm just going to put massive bulky baits out there because I'm not going to be winding them in every 20 minutes. They're going to be left out for quite a while, so I'd rather just put loads of scent into the water, and it'll probably, whoops, it'll probably help to sniff out fairly quickly whether or not there's anything there. So I'm just laying that hook under tension down that point like that. Getting a bit of squid. I'm just going to wrap that round like so. Just gives you a bit more life on the seabed. Right, just going to get these 2 lug bound on. And there he is. That should hopefully fish out whether or not there's anything in there. So I don't know if you can see that, but I'm intentionally just leaving quite a large bar with my line just to have, so there's a bit of give in the system. If a wave does move a lot of the braid, it'll hopefully just move the braid without just pulling me sinker straight into a snag. Right, let's get this first one in. This might be a bit... Some of these waves are starting to blast up these rocks as the tide's dropping, so I've got to make sure I don't get wet. The sinker's just popped off there. Seriously rough ground out there. There's the sun coming out. Not really what I want, but I'll take it. Right, come on. Sun's shining. Let's see if the sun will shine on us now. Get a fish. Keep your rod over, just let the depth pull that bower line away from the rock. Right, I think we're okay there. Looks like we've been getting a bit of a bite on this. Felt like we had a fish on there, but into a snag. I think I've missed it. Either that or I've got a little bit of weight on and my sinker's popped off. I think it's the former though. Well, we're on the third cast here. The point, I've had a couple of rattles, but I mean they definitely weren't cod of any size anyway, so I'm in two minds as to whether to shift again, just see if I can find something. But to be honest, for daylight, where I am now in this area probably feels about the best place anyway if I am going to have a chance of getting anything. I don't know whether to have this cast and one more. That'll take us to about low tide, which is about 1-ish. And then I might move over to knackers, or there is somebody fishing on knackers actually. Or I might move further along behind the shops and just plop into some of the gullies along there, because they still hold plenty of water on these bigger tides. Right, I think that's my plan. When I have one more cast after this, then I'm going to make the effort and shift. I can't really be bothered, to be perfectly honest, but needs must at the minute. Nearly a little bit wet there. I've had 3 or 4 casts here, I'm not getting anything. My inclination's to move to one of the gullies up there and just have a little dodge around, because I just don't think there's anything doing here. Right, I think I'm done with a point. Shame because it doesn't look half bad, but I don't know, I just can't. Just not feeling too confident fishing here right now. Low water's at 1:30. Nah, I'm gonna move, I'm gonna shift. Had a little bit of a bump there, followed by a lot of slack. Bizarre this weather. It's 5th of November. I'm stood in a jumper and a t-shirt. I have got some fairly sort of warm stuff on under these waders, but it's pretty gorgeous, the weather. It's really nice. So the next cast, I'm just going to go straight lug, straight yellowtails, fire it out into the middle of that gully again and hope for the best, because so far it has not been up to much. Right, let's get this lug worm bait out. Come on. This has been tricky all day, and somehow, despite the fact that I cast to the right and the tide is coming in, my gear seems to be getting dragged to the left. So I think the day is about to conclude in one final annoying calamity. It's been a beautiful day weather-wise, but it's been pretty frustrating fishing-wise. Bright day, tiny tide, not a lot to see. It's just the way it is at times. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed seeing a little bit of Beadnell, bit of Northumberland. Right, welcome to this part of the video, which I can safely tell you so far has been absolutely calamitous. My headlights completely all over me, all over my head. I never usually lose rigs on this particular mark. I've lost rigs, sinkers. The weed at times has been horrific, but as always when it drops down, it's not so bad. So I'm out with my pal Sam tonight. We've both had a fish each, which is good. In fact, Sam's had a couple. I've got one about, I don't know, 4.5 gully that we're fishing in. It was starting to empty out a little bit, so it's getting a bit tricky. I was using my usual 2-hook flapper, which has been turned into a 1-hook paternoster. So in the haste to just continue fishing, I've just lashed a sinker onto the bottom and just chucked out 1 hook, which I don't usually like to do on this particular area. I like to fish 2, but the rain and wind has been howling it straight in my face. It's back off now, and right now it's actually quite pleasant, but all my gear's soaked. The moment I got onto the beach, big surge of wave just more or less filled my box of water. So this is the fish I've had, quite a nice one. It's probably about 4, 5-ish, something like that. Hopefully we can get another, but he'll go nicely in the freezer because it's been a little while since I've had any cod. Sam's just putting a bait out there. We've just shifted along a bit because we've lost a little bit of water, so just gonna have a few chucks into here. Still some pretty big surges coming in at the minute, so just gonna hopefully have 1 or 2 more chucks. Let's see if we can pull something out. Loads of colour in the water, like. Sam's just had a nice bite there. He's just about to get a fish. Sorry about the camera work here. It's very, very difficult tonight, but we'll do what we can. And it comes. Oh, it's not a bad fish at all, that. Sam with another nice fish. Good. Probably 3, do you reckon?
Aye, 3.5 maybe.
Yeah, nice one. On there, carton squid.
Carton squid, aye.
Yeah. Champion.
On the circle hook.
Aye, right on the top.
Aye.
Spot on.
Nice fish.
Get in. Well done. Hopefully you can see that. Something small's just been having a bit of a wrestle with it. Yeah. Don't think it's a big fish, but it's definitely something having a little look. Yeah, we got him. Oh, is he caught? No, got him. He's just not very big. Well, it's the culprit. Another little coddy, absolutely engulfed that bait. He'll be sized, but I'm not sure he'll go back, but he'll certainly not go to waste. Right, it's 4 fish we've had. Probably just gonna lash some more bait onto that hook, get it out, and then that'll be that, because I've got to get back to bed. I've got a busy day tomorrow. Sam's into another fish here. Here it comes. Yep. Another fish on the cart. Nice one. Yeah, nice one. Well done. But the action's pretty much thick and fast now. Got a few better ones for the pot. I wish I didn't have to get to bed and get out for work in the morning, otherwise I'd stay here for quite a bit longer. But got a few fish. Nice to get back out amongst something, because as you've probably seen, there have been 1 or 2 quieter sessions where we fished in daylight over the smaller tides, but it happens. It's not the end of the world. So I'm gonna make this my last cast, get back and clean everything up. And sadly, I mean everything, because it's just covered in sand and salt water and bait. But I'm starting to get slightly cold, and it feels like the rain's going to start again. Well, that's the end of the session. It's been very, very short, very, very sweet. We've had a few decent fish. 4 keepers. Sam could have easily kept his 3rd fish, but it was only lip hook, so it's always nice to see them swim away. So, as always, the tide's starting to come back in, starting to surge a bit now. As always, thanks for watching. Tight lines, keep fishing. We'll see you on the next one.